Happy Tuesday to you on Evan and Tiki. Sean Morash, Tiki Barber here with you. Evan, the Mets might have killed Evan. He's down for the count, sick today after attending a couple games last weekend and recording a million Ricos. We hope to have him back tomorrow, but nonetheless, we got you here for the next 4 hours plus, talking all things Giants, Jets, Mets, and of course the World Series bound Yankees at 888-808-1019. And you're going to want to keep it locked here to the fan, and specifically Evan and Tiki, every single day this week, but particularly as we lead into Friday. Friday, we will be giving away a pair of tickets to see the Yankees and Dodgers in the World Series. And if anybody hasn't looked into buying tickets, or maybe you have, I mean, these bad boys, they get in a building standing room. We're talking about $1,000.
Can we participate in this?
We are exempt, unfortunately.
Well,
Tiki. We can't get in.
No.
And you know it's a hot ticket when Tiki can't even place a phone call to get us in the building. So you're going to want to keep it locked here. Friday, your chance to win basically unscorable tickets anywhere else. The most improbable World Series we've seen in about 40 years in terms of getting tickets. Yankees and Dodgers, and we will continue to talk about, could Shohei Ohtani pitch in this series?
That's the Yankees' fault for waiting so damn long to get back to the World Series.
Exactly. Last time we were in the World Series, we were like, yeah, I think you still had to cross highways to go into ticket brokers' places to get them.
It's true.
So Yankees, Dodgers, we'll talk about plenty of that and the roster decisions and everything. But Tiki, a funny thing has happened over the last 48 hours since the Giants lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. And while I thought we were going to walk away from MetLife Stadium, and I did on Sunday that lost to the Eagles, with just another when do you bench Daniel Jones conversation, the conversation has really pivoted to this regime of Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll and their future and their job security. And you have people chiming in from all over the national landscape on this. And I got to be honest with you. What the hell are you guys watching? How could you have a take that Brian Daboll or Joe Schoen are not the right regime, that don't deserve to draft their own quarterback? I don't see it. I don't understand it. And I have plenty of thoughts on it. But Tiki,
Yeah, well,
I mean, this is the swell going on right now.
This happens because you have ineffective outings like you did against the Eagles. At home, division rival, you score 3 points. And it never even felt like they were going to score more than 3 points.
Right.
They weren't threatening. They didn't have mistakes in the red area. It was just flat bad. And we know why it was, because your left tackle is compromised. Your quarterback is afraid to take some shots downfield. You have missed fits defensively. So Saquon Barkley goes for a 55-yard jaunt down the left sideline, a 47-yard jaunt right up the middle of the field. I love Micah McFadden. Where the hell are you looking at, dude?
Yeah.
And so you get these moments when you get your ass kicked. And that's what happened. They got beat so bad by the Eagles that it makes people start questioning whether the people and the processes are right. But I'm with you. They're as good as the Giants should be on paper, because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The talent that they have offensively, the new scheme defensively, some of the pieces at work. There is still a lot of it that is not even close to being at the level that the top teams in the NFL are right now.
Sure, right.
And that the primary one is what you just mentioned, at quarterback.
Yeah.
And again, I went on this little rant yesterday at the end of the show after Evan left, and it was just me and you, but it was just mostly me talking about Daniel Jones. And I really love him as a kid. I think he's smart. I think he's big and strong, and he's a leader. He works his butt off. He's the first guy in there. He's the last guy to lead. Like, he does everything right except ball.
Yeah.
And so if you're...
It's a pretty big thing you need to do right.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But if you are this Joe Schoen, Dabes-led organization / team, you can't be truly evaluated until you have your guy. Now, with that being said, they're still recovering from an era where they had some bad drafts, they had some bad contracts, and 3 years, to me, not even 3 years, doesn't feel like, all right, I'm done, I don't believe in them.
Yeah. Yeah, Tiki, I'm with you, and I need to remind everybody this. I know we get caught up in this hunger for wanting more and wanting the success, and I get it, man. And if you go to games every single week and spend your hard-earned money, it has been pathetic what the Giants have done, specifically offensively for us, for the past few years. But I keep coming back to how bad the Joe Judge era ended when he's running that quarterback sneak with, with whatever, Jake Fromm or Mike Glenn. I forget who the quarterback was at this point.
Basically a kneel down.
Kneel down. How bad it got towards the end of the Pat Shurmur tenure. And I think we all forget, because it's been now so long, 3 years, how bad a disgrace and disarray Dave Gettleman put this franchise into and left this franchise in. And here we are in the year 2024, and two things are still paramount. Saquon Barkley just rushed all over the Giants from the Philadelphia Eagles, and good for him, he went out and got paid. Because Dave Gettleman spent the second overall pick on him, and we didn't have a regime with the foresight to take, say, Josh Allen, that Joe Shane was a part of a regime of taking, that maybe could take Lamar Jackson, who went by every team until 32nd overall. How different would this Giant team look if they had a general manager in place that did that instead of taking the running back second overall? But the running back became a fan favorite. So much so that the owner, and I don't blame him, fell in love with him because the fans loved him.
Right.
But Dave Gettleman's mistake of taking Saquon Barkley second overall and not addressing quarterback led to them then addressing quarterback the following year. And now what we've learned, unfortunately, the mistake of taking Daniel Jones sixth overall. Now we've gotten to 2024, where everything besides those points, besides finding the quarterback, continues to get built up better and better. Before Andrew Thomas got hurt, Tiki, I think we'd all agree, we finally liked where the offensive line was at. It would be nice if they had some depth.
Seemed like it.
And that was on, okay, Joe Shane with the Gettleman Scouts didn't do a good job that first year with that.
Didn't go. They were terrible.
They missed on 3 offensive linemen on it. The defenses continue to be built up. Micah McFadden, like you mentioned, he's been a pretty good pick in the late rounds. Finding Bobby Okereke, getting a really reasonable deal done with Dexter Lawrence if you were Joe Shane, getting Kayvon Thibodeau here, getting Burns here. Everything they've done in the secondary. I know Banks gave up, but he hasn't been a complete disaster, and he's been a worthy enough corner taken in the 20s. I like what the Giants have done building the roster around, and now I have seen enough football in this modern NFL to know, yes, you will always have holes as an NFL team, but hitting on the quarterback can make a lot of coaches look pretty damn good. And we saw Tommy DeVito win football games with Brian Dable last year when this team could have quit. We saw Daniel Jones, who we all think stinks, right? Well, guess what they did in 2022 with Daniel Jones? Made the playoffs and made him competent.
He won a game.
How could you look at this team at 2-5 right now and go, we could do better at head coach, we could do better at general manager? If you're doing that, you're allowing the mistakes made by Dave Gettleman with the Saquon pick instead of quarterback, and then the quarterback of Daniel Jones to still haunt this team in 2024, and you'd be setting the organization further backwards by dumping these two guys.
First of all, it's not happening.
It better not be.
Whatever they think is these I don't know who's doing it, fans or otherwise, some media, I'm sure, calling for Dabes and Shane to be fired. It's not happening. And the reason it's not is because I think that John Mara has been through that rinse and repeat too many times. If he had done it once or maybe even twice, in the last decade, you could probably say, hey, you know what, this guy's not the right guy. It's not the right fit. I just don't think that this duo, GM head coach, is right. But they've been through this so many times, and the last thing you need to do is reset again and start over again. Whatever momentum has been built is just washed and done because somebody else is going to come in and say, yeah, you know, I don't really, Brian Burns doesn't fit what I want to do. That's a bad signing. How do we get out from under that contract? Or, Tay Diggs. I mean, not Tay Diggs.
It always comes back to Tay Diggs.
Tay Banks. He's not good enough for what I want to do. So, you know what? Let's trade him. Like, all of a sudden, you start ripping down a roster and moving on to new pieces that you just start over again. And nobody wants to or needs to start over. I don't pretend to know what's going on inside Quest Diagnostic Center. I go over there every now and then, but I'm not having in-depth, deep conversations. I'm not going to play that role like, I'm the former player. I know better. But I do know that organizations that are constantly turning over coaches don't find success in the short term. They just don't. And sometimes it takes time, especially when you are uncertain, as we know they were, because we saw it on Hard Knocks, about your quarterback.
And that's exactly it. How many regimes don't ever get to pick a quarterback before they get rid of?
Very few. And the Jets got to pick one, and then they got rid of him, and then they got a
Joe
legend.
Douglas has got second life, right?
And it still hasn't happened.
But this is the fact of the matter. To me, I trust that Joe Shane was in a room that was able to identify Josh Allen as the guy. I trust that now a couple of years in, this looks like the best Joe Shane draft class.
Josh Allen was He was Anthony Richardson.
Right.
He was Will Levis.
Right.
In his first couple of years.
Right.
People act like
Patience.
Josh Allen, who became an MVP candidate in 2020, which was his third year. His third year, those first 2 years were as horrendous as you could possibly imagine. Now, he had good legs, and he ran for, I think, 17 touchdowns in those first couple of years, so he found ways to be successful. But as a quarterback, he was bad.
Right.
And so developing your guy, it takes time.
And don't we trust Brian Dable could do that?
I do, but it's got to be the right guy.
It's got to be the right guy. But this is the other part. If the Giants were to do something crazy off of this year, like dump Brian Dable or Joe Shane, not only would they not have gotten to pick their own guy, they would also be punished by doing the right thing. First of all, they would be punished by being really good in 2022 because that kind of in many ways, set the Giants' clock back. We would never return that playoff year, but guess what?
Yeah.
If they stunk, they don't sign Daniel Jones, we would have expected them to stink, this, that, and the other. So it's almost like you're going to punish them for accelerating their clock. And on top of that, everything that's happened since last year, when the Giants tried to trade up but had three teams in front of them, one of the quarterbacks, they identified clearly Jaden Daniels or Drake May as their quarterbacks, couldn't get them. Rather than do things that bad organizations do, which is take a quarterback you don't believe in, they pivoted and took the playmaker we all love in Malik Neighbors. So now we're going to punish this regime and fire them for not saying, forget Malik Neighbors, let's go get J.J. McCarthy.
Right.
That would be malpractice.
Right.
This regime has shown that they're doing the right thing, they're doing the smart thing, and they didn't force a quarterback when a quarterback was there. This upcoming offseason, if and when we get there, will have to be the time they do that.
And so here comes the challenge, though. Forget the fired Dabes. Let's assume that Dabes and fired Dabes and Shane. Let's assume Dabes and Shane are going to be still with the Giants. And by the way, in my gut, I know that they are. What happens if they start winning some games
This year?
And it's not because of Daniel Jones, but he's good enough. But he's clearly still not the answer. And all of a sudden, the challenge becomes, how do we get the quarterback we want? And so what's in front of them is probably more daunting than the decisions they've had to make in the past. Because if they win 6 games or 7 games, whatever it is, let's say they win 6 games and they're picking 14th, they're not getting one of the quarterbacks that they want to get. And so now they're going to have to look in free agency.
Yeah.
And so just to think about handing that off, that same decision to a new regime makes no sense to me.
True.
Especially after they've tried to build this thing piece by piece by piece by going to fix the defensive side of the ball and bringing in a new coordinator and trying to get some veteran offensive line that helped the pass pressure situation from the previous couple of years. And so they've taken steps towards a solution, but the biggest piece of it is consistent quarterback. Not even a consistent, because I think Daniel Jones is actually pretty consistent in quarterback play. He's just not good.
Yeah, well, he consistently doesn't score at home.
Right. And so, like when you can't score points, it doesn't matter what anything else is going on with your team, how good a piece is or how bad a piece is. You can't score, you're not winning, and it's gonna look ugly. And so it's looked ugly, but I think we all know the reason why.
No doubt about it. It's the quarterback. It's the quarterback. Don't fire the coach. Get the new quarterback. 888-808-1019. There is a black cloud still hanging over this coaching situation, and he opened his mouth. We'll get to that in a little bit as well. And again, Yankee tickets, score them here on Friday. We'll continue to take your Yankee calls as we amp up to the Yankees and Dodgers in the World Series as well. If you have some thoughts on that throughout the show, of course, all are welcome. But let's get a couple calls in here now, Tiki, on the situation with the New York Giants. Bruce in Brooklyn. Bruce, what's up? You're on Evan and Tiki.
What up, Bruce?
Hey, Sean. Thanks for taking my call. You finally aggravated me enough to wait on hold to talk to you. You keep blaming Gettleman for wasting draft picks.
Yep.
Who's a better offensive lineman, Andrew Thomas or Evan Neal? Who's a better defensive player, Dexter Lawrence or Kayvon Thibodeau?
Cool. No, Bruce, no doubt about it. Dave Gettleman swung on two. Bruce, Dave Gettleman hit on 2 big pieces. Now do all the other Dave Gettleman disasters and add up with the other pieces that Joe Shane has actually showed to be pretty competent here.
Oh, I don't know about that. I thought not re-signing Barkley was a big mistake. He was 60% of your offense, and he made Jones a better quarterback, not Jones making him a better running back.
Bruce, a team that can't score, paying a guy who's a running back who misses games every year to be 60% of their offense is a big problem.
But Barkley does score. He does score. He goes for 40-yard runs and 50-yard runs and 30-yard runs.
Yeah,
he does score.
Let's not relitigate Saquon Barkley, who is now an Eagle.
Right, and let him be an Eagle.
He's a Philadelphia Eagle. He said it to us after the game, after he rushed for 176 yards and a touchdown. I finally feel like an Eagle. He is an Eagle. Guess what? I get to call the Eagles in 2 weeks.
Do you got the Eagles?
I do. Eagles-Jags.
Eagles-Jags. The flex out.
That's right.
All right.
So, yeah, we'll get a chance. At least I'll get a chance to talk about Saquon.
You going to get in the meeting room with Saquon?
Probably.
All right. All right.
So
send Gallo with you.
Exactly. Get some content for the show. We can't sit here and talk about Saquon because Saquon's not here. He's not a part of the solution for the New York Giants. You can go back and evaluate and judge Joe Shane for his decision to not, I don't know, ante up whatever more money he wanted to make him a Giant for life. But they felt like roster building, that wasn't in their best interest. And at some point, maybe that does come back and become one of the things that, as we keep evaluating one of the bad mistakes that they made. But he's also a running back. And we know that running backs, I don't want to say they come and they go, but they kind of come and they go.
Yeah. I kind of like what Tyrone Tracy's doing for the Giants.
Exactly, but there's very few guys. Derrick Henry is one. A lot of people wanted to talk about Chris McCaffrey, but, dude, how many games has this guy missed? And so...
Well, Tiki, you just named two guys. Guess what? The Ravens adding Derrick Henry, the 49ers adding Christian McCaffrey, the Eagles in the Super Bowl 2 years ago adding Saquon Barkley. What do they all have in common? They didn't spend first-round capital on those guys. They signed them as finishing pieces.
Right,
already built
and the running back was the cap on top of everything else.
Exactly.
Not the core of what they're trying to do.
Dave Gettleman used a second overall pick for basically the equivalent of a person that can't afford their mortgage but buys a Ferrari. That's what they did with Saquon Barkley. Okay?
By the way, it felt like at the time he might have been right about it.
Well, it was did Eli have enough juice left? They misjudged it.
Right. Did Eli had enough juice? Let's cap it with Saquon as a first round draft.
And 12
pick.
months later they were drafting a quarterback.
Exactly right.
And that problem is where the Giants are still at today. And if they get rid of Dable and Shane, they are still paying the price for that. We'll continue to take your calls at that 888-808-1019. We're coming to you live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire.